If you are ready for an amazing transformational experience, then you need to stay tuned for this next hour for a master's practice with Dr. Aisha Hogan. She is a leading specialist in holistic methodologies and the creator of a powerful integrative technique called enhanced energy communication. A master, clinical and metaphysical hypnotherapist, a well-respected author, a master of the mind, and highly sought international speaker. Get ready for a major breakthrough. And now, your soul guru, holistic transformational specialist, and host of a master's practice, Dr. Aisha Hogan.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to a master's practice. And I'm Dr. Aisha Hogan, and I'm here with my guest today, Barbara Ptak, and she has her own practice called Wellness Balancing. And I think that the wonderful topic today is actually going to be about not so much her practice, we'll be talking about that too, but wellness balancing and what does that mean for everybody. Hi, Barbara, how are you?
Oh, I'm great. Thank you, Aisha, for having me on the show.
Well, thank you for being here. I'm happy to have you. So for those of you that don't know, which will probably be all of you, Barbara and I have known each other for quite some time. And, you know, she's always been, you know, I think that everybody needs somebody that, it doesn't matter where we are in our journey, but everybody needs somebody to kind of say, hey, you know what, I'm having a rough time and I kind of need some help here. And I can't see things clearly because sometimes when we're all wrapped up in our own stuff, we don't have the clarity that somebody else would have looking in. So Barbara's always been like my go-to person. So first of all, I want to thank you, Barbara, for being there for me. So that's, you know, for lots of times that I've called you on the, you know, in a moment's notice and been like, help.
Oh, it's my pleasure to always be there for you, Aisha.
So what does wellness balancing mean to you, Barbara? Let's start there.
Well, you know, for me, it started when I long ago took a reflexology certification, and it kind of opened my eyes to that we were not just, everything was connected. And when I was working on a person's foot and pressing certain points, it actually gave relief to other areas of the body. So maybe a person would you know, have a nice sigh of a stress release or whatever. And it kind of got me thinking about how we go through life and how we can get out of balance. And, you know, we get laser focused on certain areas of our life and forget about others. And it shows up, you know, in our emotions, or it shows up in our physical body. And so for me, it was always about helping someone get back into balance. That's not to say that, you know, you're not going to still have areas where you give more attention than others, but it's about the awareness that if you say, at this particular time of my life, I'm going to give a lot of attention to this. But I have to be aware of it, right? So that when we get, because we get blindsided, right? We go, what the heck happened here? You know, why did this happen? Well, because we were so in tune to some part of our life. So for me, that wellness balancing is all areas. We have to be aware of all of us, of our emotions, of the physical, of our spiritual, and how that shows up in different parts of us, how we relate to other people, how we go about our day-to-day business. You know, we are these human beings here having to drive to work and raise children and be in relationships and do all the, you know, go to the grocery store. But at the same point, we are an awakening of species of people that is saying there's more to us than just that everyday thing. So then, and I think that
people are starting to really get that. Like, I don't think when I say, well, some people are really getting it, and some people are just starting to understand it and be like, just a minute. Like, you mean that there's more to me than what I see? And the one thing that you said that I try to advocate all the time is that you have to, like you said, you have to work on all of you, right? Because it's all the layers. You've got to work on the mind, you have to work on the body, you've got to work on the energy. And lately, actually, I've been having I've been having issue. It's honestly really been lately, like in the last 3 days. I've been having issue with the word spirituality. And I'll tell you why. Because to me, I think we've come too far as a species to be saying, because when you talk about spirituality, now you're talking about something that's subjective. It's outside of you, right? It's not part of you. It's like saying, oh, I believe in skin. Like it's right? Like it's part of it's part of who we are. And I've had issue with people using the word, woo woo when it comes to energy work and stuff like that, which is maybe at one time was okay and acceptable. But now I'm thinking like, no, because it's not. Science and energy and all of that is so intertwined that we cannot, it's not separate anymore. It never was. We just saw it separately, right? So when someone says, "Oh, you're spiritual," I'm like, "Well, yeah, I'm human. So I mean, I'm a species. I'm on this planet, and so are you, and we all are." So I don't know. It's just been lately I've been having issue with this word of spirituality because I guess I'm kind of seeing things. Well, I've been always seeing things in a bigger way, but I woke up 3 days ago going, that word's starting to bug me now.
Well, I think you bring up a really good point, is that we do forget that we are spiritual, that we are spiritual. Somehow, and it's funny we have this conversation because this morning I was just talking to someone and they were saying we're talking about having intuition and having certain abilities. And I said, we all have them. This is our given right, but of course we aren't aware of it. And I think it's just like the spirituality. We are spiritual beings. We all are, but it's the language around it. It's because it wasn't talked about. It was because it was, it was made to be taboo or something elevated. And like you say, outside of ourselves. And now we're realizing, no, it is part of who we are. And more people are starting to look at it in a different way and talk about it in a different way.
The word, sorry to interrupt you, but it's almost like the word nature, right? I'm going to go spend time in nature. Well, we are nature. We are nature. Animals are nature. Trees are nature. We're nature. But again, we always speak about it like it's subjective, like it's something that's outside of us.
Yes. And I think that the times, right now, people, it's such an interesting time as you look around the planet and everything that is going on and how people are really coming to the forefront to really bring their voice to address certain happenings on the planet. Right. And so within that, I think people are starting to say we're starting to see ourselves, like you say, more connected, more intertwined, more instead of being so separated, we're starting to be more collective. And with that collective, that consciousness that comes, then we start seeing shifts. And of course, like you say, some people are more open to it or more aware or on a different part of their journey. And this is the other thing. We all think that there's people ahead of us and behind us and whatever. We're all at the same place. We're just in different degrees of it, and there's no right or wrong. And I think that that's the other thing too. People get intimidated and they say, "Well, you're better at this, or you're more spiritual than I am." No, we're all.
It's not even possible.
That's right. It's not a race. It's not a race. It's a journey to be explored and to have that experience. Right? We're meant to have that experience. So it's about being. This is where the balance comes in, and this is where we're seeing imbalance on the planet right now, where some areas are finding their place to that, we call it homeostasis, when you come into the center. When you've swung too far, the pendulum's gone to the left, the pendulum's gone to the right, now we're coming to the center. And there's areas in our planet that is really out of kilter. And
oh my goodness, you're not even kidding. Yes.
Yeah, and so people are feeling uncomfortable and they're feeling a bit fear-driven because they're focused in this imbalance rather than being centered and saying, if I remain calm, if I remain, centered in who I am, then everything around me will fall into place. Will kind of it's like It's like when you have shavings on a table and you take a magnet and you bring it all together. It's the same thing. If we all stay frustrated and are fear-based, it separates us all. But if we can, each one of us become centered in who we are, that vibration brings us all together, and we. Well, I think that's coexistence.
Isn't that like you said it just twice in this last little blurb here, where you said, like, who I am and who we are, and that's always the problem, because people. 80% of our beliefs were given to us. A lot of us have, when people say, I've come from a dysfunctional past, I'm like, who hasn't? So,
absolutely.
We've all gone through things, and that becomes the question, like, who am I? Because some people have spent their entire lives being what everybody else tells them to be and expects them to be. And we live our expectations and obligations, and which is all fear-based. And you sit there and go, okay, so you're right. Who am I? Well, I don't know, because I've got all this crap in my way and I can't see who I am.
Yeah.
I have no idea who I am.
That's right. And the other part of that is when we're in that place of who am I, we make it overcomplicated. Like we've got to be something, when people go, what is my life purpose? You know what? Each one of us have a purpose here. It's to love, live in peace and harmony.
Right.
Be compassionate. But we want to make it bigger, that we have to be something outside of ourselves. And again, it's coming back to that inside. Love ourselves, love your neighbor, love the people around you, and have some compassion for where people are at.
Well, I think also I do believe that each one of us sort of has a bit of an innate superpower. And something
absolutely.
That they should, because as much as loving each other is great and being compassionate, that's all good, it's all good. But there's something I believe that there's something we all have to be, each one of us plays a part in doing.
Yes, we do.
To create this evolution of the universe, so that we can evolve and change.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. But, again, we want to make it overcomplicated. And I think we have a role we're here to just explore, experience, and be. And when we have layer upon layer of hurt and belief and, pain, it takes a bit of undoing of all of that to get to that gem in the center, especially if you don't feel that you're maybe as worthy as the person next to you, or you don't measure up in some way, then it's hard to kind of see that in yourself. And that's why it's important to have people in your life that you can work with to help you see that, and then you take it from there, right? It's like,
right. Absolutely. I think the whole thing, sorry, I keep interrupting you, that thing with the self-healing, when people say self-healing, I think it's kind of it's not a mixed message, but it's, all healing is self-healing. I think when somebody calls themselves a healer, it's like, I'm a little off with that one too, because it's not me that's doing the healing for you. It's you that's doing the healing for you. I'm just guiding you through it. So
that's right.
But when people think about self-healing, does that mean that I have to go this alone? No.
No. And you don't have to become dependent upon somebody either. No. So it's a fine balance. What it is, it's like, when you learn to ride a bicycle, back in the day, you put on the training wheels, and then when you were kind of felt stable enough, those wheels came off and you were ready to go. You were ready to go on the steepest slope ever because you knew you had it. And that's what life is about. Sometimes we need
somebody was holding the back of that seat. Sometimes I remember my dad holding the back of that seat, right?
Running up and down the street with it. That's right. And then they let go and it's like, oh my God, I can fly, right?
Right.
And that's this is what it's like when we're on our. This is why people, seek perhaps your services, my services, other people out there to say, okay, well, I need some help here because I can't see it. I can't, and that's why even we look to mentors and people who can guide us because when you're in your stuff, you can't always see it. So someone else can give you a different perspective, can kind of clean the lens off the mirror so you can look through, right? And say, oh, who is that? Oh, there I am, because someone has helped kind of remove some of those or caught your attention to where you might be not seeing yourself as clearly. And when someone can bring that attention to you, then you can go, okay, I'm ready to take it from here. Until you get, you might get stuck again, and then you have another little boost with someone. So we do work with other people. We do, but it's not about becoming dependent. It's not about handing over your power to someone else to say this is who you should be. It's about saying, okay, what do I believe? And I mean, that's the thing that caught me, I think, at a certain age.
And you're not asking that of me. Like if one of my clients even say, what should I believe? No, you have to believe what you need to believe right now.
Yes. Yeah. And where did the question I always like to ask is, well, if you believe something, where did that belief come from? Is that something that someone told you, or do you feel it in your within you somehow? And
did you test it? Did you test that belief?
That's right. And so when you can do that, that's the discernment. That's when you start kind of peeling away the layers of the falseness that people have you've experienced and took on, the masks, right? And we want to pull those off and get to the truth of it, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep. No, absolutely. Yeah. And I'm, some people have said, I don't need anyone to help me. I'm good. I'm awesome. Like if you can do that for yourself, amazing. Good for you. Right.
Yes.
And then other people, it's like they're completely lost because they're so, they're so traumatized, or things happen to them, or they're so much in pain, or whatever's happened, or they've spent their whole life being told what to do and they have no idea what to do. And that's not my job to tell you what to do. It's my job to clear the path so you can figure out what you got to do.
Yeah.
Anyway, so on that note, we're going to take a break now. Stay tuned for a master's practice with Dr. Aisha Hogan with my guest Barbara Ptak, and we will be right back.
Free your mind. Expand your soul. Om Times Radio. IOM FM.
Om Times Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. Connect at omtimes.com. Om Times, creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Have you bought into the idea that you have to work hard for your money, that business is hard? I will share some dynamic access consciousness tools to get you out of your own way so you can create a business that actually succeeds. Join me, Simone Millicers, on The Joy of Business at 4 p.m. Mondays Eastern.
Are you ready to live your life depression-free? Are you having thoughts of ending things? Wondering what life would be like without chronic pain? How about no longer suffering the effects of trauma and PTSD? Are you tired of having your credibility questioned because you look fine and no one understands that you are struggling with an invisible disorder? Hi, I'm Dr. Aisha Hogan, and I'm a holistic transformation specialist. I work with clients from all over the world to aid them in eliminating, that's right, you heard me, eliminating their current struggles and challenges. I don't work with symptoms. That's like putting a Band-Aid on a gunshot wound. I'm all about root cause and all the levels of you, as each one of us is unique. Ready to transform your life for good? To move into the best version of yourself and reach your unlimited potential? Then book your complimentary 1-hour online consultation with me by going to www.aishahogan.com. That's AYSE Hogan.com. And it will take you right to my clinic, the Chakra House of Healing. I look forward to meeting you there.
I am Fidel Nshambo. I was born in a city called Bukavu in the Congo. We were a loving family, and then, boom, everything that I had disappeared in a single day. People think that when you are a refugee and they resettle you to America, and all your problems are done. They don't understand that that's the beginning of everything. I was not born a refugee. I was made one.
It's time we welcome refugee families with open arms. Learn more at embracerefugees.org, brought to you by the Ad Council.
Hi there, and welcome back to A Master's Practice with me, Dr. Aisha Hogan, and Barbara Ptak from Wellness Balancing. Now, Barbara, when we went to break, we were talking about, some people doing healing for themselves and some people going to get help. And when you go to get help from someone, so let's say, and I'm going to ask you what you think about this. So let's say I'm a person who really needs help, and I'm talking to several different people that I have been referred to or that I have found. What would I be looking for? What do you think I'd be looking for?
Well, I think from my personal experience, when I'm looking for someone to guide me, I want to feel a connection with that person. I want to feel that they understand me, and maybe they've had some experience with that, kind of walked in my shoes a little bit. And that's what I find when people are looking for me. It's a referral because there's something that I have personally experienced or I've come through that I can relate to them. So I think it's building that trust and that confidence that the person that you are working with has some experience or has, it's very nice to be certified or to get a diploma or an education, but life experiences or having the actual hands-on, I think is important. That you've actually either through the experiences of working with people along a certain, you don't have to have had a trauma of abuse in order to help someone. I'm not saying that, but I do think that through your years of experience that you've had enough exposure or enough, working with people that you can actually relate. Because it was like, when I started reflexology, it was many years ago, it was that I had that treatment and I went, wow, this is really something that I felt was so beneficial. And then as I worked through my many years of adding different modalities to my practice, it was always the ones that I had experienced first. Then I could go and give it to, felt, okay, I want to learn this and then share that with my clients. So for me, that's the important thing, is that you have to have that trust value, that trust with the person, and that you have that instant connection. Right?
Yeah, and I also think I totally agree with you. But I also think in addition to that, now looking at it from the coach's side of things, the facilitator side of things, is also being very careful not to take control.
Oh no. Absolutely.
Right, and try to tell them what to think and who to be.
No. It's empowering. And I think here's the thing. When you can be the person, you can ask the questions. I think that's the thing, is to say to them, okay, what do you think this means? What does this mean? I don't know. Okay, where do you feel this in your life? Where does it show up in your life? And start to help them make some connections without actually saying this, or this. Right. I think that's the empowering part, is to have. Sometimes people need, when they first come in, they're very overwhelmed, and it's just, I cannot think for myself, because they're just
you have to give them a little bit of a hand, right?
Yeah, and then but you never want to say, well, this is what I think is going on. You want the person to start thinking for themselves and seeing the connections, so that then when they go out in their day, they can start relating in a different way. It's like, when they have that interaction with somebody at work and it triggers them, they can stop for a minute and say, oh, this isn't really about them coming for the 15th time to ask me about how to open up this application on their computer.
Right.
It's because, but you know what? It's because I'm always being, I'm always giving to someone and it's not reciprocal, or I'm not, I'm being drawn into relationships where I'm not valuing myself and putting up proper boundaries to say, actually, you know what, let's do this one last time and you take notes. And write that down on a sticky note, so when that application pops up, you know how to do it, and I don't have to help you again. And so it's an opportunity, because maybe a month ago you wouldn't have even thought about a boundary, that you didn't have any, or that it was okay to say no to somebody, or how to say no, or how to say yes, right?
You know what I thought was really cool too is that when people start, I don't know if I want to say getting better, but when they start clearing the triggers and the blocks and changing some of those beliefs, and they're starting to feel better on the various levels of themselves. I mean, those boundaries are not, I've always told something, they're like, how do I put down my boundaries? You don't need to, because as you become more into place of, as a whole homeostasis, as a whole, like starting to feel balanced all the way within yourself a little more, those boundaries are going to throw themselves down. Like, you don't actually have to do it. It's going to happen within your energy field. It's going to happen inside you. And people and other people's energy is going to sense that. The person may not, but their energy is going to sense it, and they're not going to push past that boundary.
That's right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And, it's interesting, because as we start to shift our behaviors, it's the people around us, it kind of can create a bit of a chaos moment, because they're not sure what to do with that.
That's true.
Too and this is important, because you know what?
Yeah, it is very important.
Everybody's learning, right? It's not
especially when the other people are not doing anything to get themselves into a better place in your life, but you are.
But here's the thing, Aisha, when we do that, we create enough discomfort or chaos in that moment that then they start questioning and saying, what is this all about? So it does have a ripple effect. They may not take it right away, but they will walk away and say, that's not working for me, and I wonder why. And then they start questioning, their situation in it all. But it is very interesting how we, when we're looking for people to work with, we may go to someone, and this is, often someone will come with a specific thought in mind. I need to work on this. And then lo and behold, it's something totally different.
Completely
and they'll go,
different.
I hadn't even thought of that, right? It's because we don't know where the source is. We have layers of things upon that, and when we get to that root, it's always a bit of a surprise.
I do hypnosis as part of what I do. Is I'm a hypnotherapist. So, I'll have someone will come in, they'll say, I want to lose weight. Right. And which, that's not my niche. But people will come to lose weight. And of course, I'm not going to turn them away. Right. So, but as they're sitting there, I'll say, you know what? I don't think weight's your problem. I think that there's something I want to take the weight and say, that's a symptom. Yes. That's a symptom of something else.
While you're protecting yourself.
Right. Why are you trying to fill up a void inside you? Are you, tell me a little bit about you. Right. And so it's about finding out about that person and saying, because some people use food. Some people use alcohol. Some people use drugs. Some people use retail therapy. Right. Lots of people will do lots of things to make themselves feel better in some way, or some more comfortable in some way. Yeah. And it's always like that. Food may not be your problem. That's not the struggle at all.
And I think that that's why it's important to have those clarity calls, discovery call, whatever you want to name it, is an opportunity to have a chat. Like I like to say, let's have a chat. I'd like to get to know you. Whether or not you decide to work with me or not is irrelevant. It's
right.
You've gotten clarity. Is this the person that's going to be able to give me some assistance? Or sometimes someone will call and I'll say, you know what? I think I have someone else in my field of, experts that I like to draw upon, and I'll refer them and say, this person might actually be better suited for you right now because maybe it's this or this that you're going through.
Right.
And then they can come back and, they often do is return back when the services that I offer is more, that part of them is ready to be looked at, right?
Right.
So I think it's about having that chat, and people don't need to be afraid to call somebody and say, I'm not sure if you can help me, but I'd like to find out a little more.
Absolutely. I do that all the time. Like, I offer a whole hour of just sit down and talk to me, right? And it's just because you need to understand what I'm doing here. Right. And I want to understand a little bit about you, and maybe it works together and maybe it doesn't. And that's okay. Yeah. But because of some of the things that I do, there's always there's stigma attached to it. Yeah. People are afraid, you're going to hypnotize me. Am I going to run up and down the streets like naked? No.
Yes.
That would be funny, but right. No.
Yep. I'm not going to cluck like a chicken.
So it's explaining to people. It's about understanding. If nothing else, if they say, forget it, I don't want to work with you, at least they understand what it is. They've become educated.
That's right. Yes. And here's the thing. We all, we all are a little afraid to look inside ourselves, because we know that what if we look inside and there's something we see that we don't like? What if we're not, when people come to me, part of the work that I do is working with their soul blueprint. And, there's that little bit of hesitation. Am I a bright soul? What if I'm a dark soul? Well, here it is. We're light and dark. We have a balance of both.
Yes.
But the thing is, you wouldn't be coming and wanting to get some more awareness if you didn't have that lightness in you, right?
Right.
So people are afraid. We're afraid to say, well, what if they uncover something? This is why, when they go to coaches or they go, like you say, to hypnotherapy or whatever, it's like, what if you see something inside of me that isn't nice or good? Well, I can understand that. We all feel that way, but I like to make sure that the people that are coming are feeling supported and not judged. And what we all
no
have,
judgment.
We all go through our life where we can be nice to someone and kind, and then there's days that we can get really ticked off with people and be sharp and not as kind, right? Everybody is like that. It's human nature. But it's not, people are afraid that what if I start unpeeling layers of myself? What if I can never undo the damage that's been done to me? I think
and of course you can. And I think the biggest thing is yes, you can.
Absolutely.
You absolutely can. And, there's so many ways of doing it that you don't even have to relive that. Like, I think, you don't even have to talk about it. It's like, I know when I'm working with people, I just want to know the headlines. We're not going to get into, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened. And there's like, no, we don't need that. We don't mind. I don't need to make you re-traumatize yourself and go back to that dark place.
That's right. And I think that's important for people to know that there isn't the re-traumatizing of a situation in order to get the awareness and the lightness and the place to move into a new place of life. Right. We can all change, and it's never too late to make those changes. We all come to a point in our life where we're like, what the heck what are we here for, right? That milestone that we get to because life is starting to shift and change, and maybe it's our, are we going into a relationship, out of a relationship? Is our family dynamics changing because kids are leaving? Are we retiring? And then we're at like this new milestone saying, well, what am I doing here? And when we all, get to a certain age in our life, it's like, okay, now do I have time to get this all I was the chronic overgiver, and now I have to take some responsibility for my life. And what does that look like? And do I have time to do it?
And there's always nervousness, and that's okay. Like, when people are here, and eventually sometimes like their purpose comes out. When I know, even with me, when I realize that, part of my purpose is that I'm a catalyst. And, when people start realizing what their purpose is, and then they look at what they're really doing with their life right now, and they're like, well, how do I go from here to here without, because I have a family to support, but I don't know what's going to happen if I do this. And, and then there's a whole other new, like, how do I do my purpose and not disrupt my life? And how do I do my purpose and not, disrupt everybody around me? And they want to do it so bad. And then they're like, but I got this. So the whole thing is a journey. Like, it's a continual journey. You're always growing. Everything will happen in its right time. Yeah. I mean, it's just about, don't be afraid of the journey. Just know there's going to be hurdles. There'll be obstacles. Yes, there will.
Yeah.
And they're all learning pieces.
Absolutely. And it's that balance, right? I mean, things are going to get out of kilter to get back into balance. And as long as you can, if the key thing is, if you can learn a few key techniques to keep yourself centered during the rocky times, and it doesn't have to be, maybe it is about meditation, maybe it's about walking in nature, maybe it's about learning some just breathing. Something that when life kind of gets you out of sorts, that you have a technique, a skill, something you've learned that's going to help be that touchstone for you. Right. So that you can anchor yourself down while it gets a little turbulent. And that's why people do come and see various people for help, is during those rocky times, is to say, okay, I'm not anchored yet. Can you help me do that? And that's where we help them see where they can latch onto and go through their situation, their experience, the journey with a little bit more grace and ease. Right? Absolutely, absolutely. We're going to take a little break here, as much as I love talking all the way through it, but we're going to take a little break here. A master's practice with Aisha Hogan and my guest, Barbara Ptak. We'll be right back.
The future of Internet radio is here. Om Times Radio. IOM FM.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose, to link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free. AscendingHearts.com.
Tune in to the Practical Intuitive, Mind, Body, Spirit for the Real World with me, host Robin Fritz, Mondays at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 Eastern. I'll cover personal and business intuition, animal communication, mediumship, space clearing, past life regression, shamanic insights, energy healing, soul choice, and more, all to help you tap your own intuitive and healing skills. No ifs, ands, or buts.
Opiates has taken everything and everyone I've ever loved away from me. Everything.
I blew my ankle out and I got prescribed pain pills by my doctor.
If making my detox public is going to help somebody, I'm all for it. So I just wish I would have had a warning.
Opioid dependence can happen after just 5 days. Know the truth, spread the truth. A message from Truth, the Ad Council, and ONDCP.
Hi there, and welcome back to a master's practice with me, Dr. Aisha Hogan, and my guest today, Barbara Ptak. Now, Barbara, there's so much that I want to talk to you about, and I don't know how I'm going to jam it in the time that we've got left over, but here's the one. Okay, first of all, I want to quickly talk about, okay, there was something I was going to talk about, but we're not going to have time for that, so I'm going to talk about what do you do? What is soul genesis? That's the piece, because I don't want people to think that what you do is reflexology. That's not it.
No.
Like you do this amazing methodology called soul genesis, and that's what I would like you to talk about.
Thanks. Yes. So soul genesis is working through the Akashic records, which is your energetic blueprint, if you will. It's a template of all your lifetimes. So everything that you've ever had in every lifetime gets stored, if you will, in like a library. And so what I do is I access that information, and then through that, I'm able to give you a profile of who you actually are at a soul level. So, we come here to have an expression as a soul, and we can't do it unless we've donned on our human skin and lived our human life. And we do that through our relationships. We do that through our careers. We do that through our, any trauma or pain that we have had. We do that through our abilities and our gifts. So there's every component of us is represented in this profile. And so for people to understand when they get to that point in life to say, who am I? This is where I help them see that part of them, because we all have this special, like you said before, we all have these abilities and gifts, but we might not have been aware of them, or maybe we were told, that, well, you should do this instead of being naturally, you're drawn to this. And
or your grandmother does that, you should be like her, she had that power, maybe you don't.
That's right. Or maybe you have the same abilities, but of course the
purpose is different.
The purpose is different, exactly. So in order for people to kind of go through their life, there will be you will have set patterns and categories of strategies that you will use to deal with stress or to be involved in relationships. People say, why do I always get in the same relationship? Well, there's something you're working through, and once you're aware of why you are, what that need is filling, then you can go, oh, I don't need that relationship. I can actually go into this kind of a relationship. And I don't always mean like just personal. It could be why do I pick the same career? Why am I always ending up in the same job? Those kinds of things. Our relationships are very full. And what I find to be beautiful is when you understand each other. Like if a husband and wife both know who they are at their core, they're going to be able to relate to their partner differently. When you understand what your children, what their profile is, you can consciously parent in a very different way. And for example, I think
the one thing that we want to tell people also is that, we aren't glued. Like if this is who you are, yes, but that doesn't mean you have to act in a certain way.
No, absolutely. So here's the thing. It's like a blueprint is like I always say it's like your house. You've got these drawings for a house, and you may want to go in and make some changes, but the structure of it is going to really remain. It's more important to follow the structure that's going to support it than start adding on willy-nilly. So your soul profile is the same thing. You will have things that you're here to work through, but we have free will and choice.
Right.
So that will flavor how you're going to adapt, how you're going to work through it. Sometimes, so if you're here to manage emotions, right? If that's part of your expression here on Earth is to figure out how to manage emotions, you might be thrown into situations where it's very volatile and you have to keep your calmness. Right. Maybe some other times you're going to be put in very high stress jobs where you're, and you're going to lose your temper. Like there will be various situations and throughout your lifetime, right? Like so you might be different in your 20s than you are in your 60s. it's all about learning, trying on different portions of that foundation to see what feels good and what works for you. You know, what makes you feel empowered, what doesn't make you feel empowered. And that's the part of learning who you are, is that you're going to have the opportunity to try these different aspects out.
And it's not an overnight thing. Like, this is like, I'm constantly growing. Like, I'm constantly growing. You know, who I was a year ago is different from who I am now, and what I believe and what I want, and, you know, where I'm going. And it's just, it's not like you come and you, oh, well, you're healed and you're slapping somebody in the forehead and go on now, you know, live the rest of your life. It's like, it's
and here's the thing. You don't want to get tied up into say, well, this is my blueprint. So then it's another belief that you've just attached onto, right? You want to say, this is a core of who I am. However, there are aspects of it. There are degrees of it. There are layers of it. Right? And we all want to explore what that means. And so that's why you will have the different relationships. That's why you'll have the different career choices. That's why you'll move to different parts of the country or countries to have a different cultural experience. And then that will trigger something in you that feels like, well, does this feel like it suits me or not? And you know, I think we know innately who we are. This is, our soul knows this, but we are we're getting reacquainted. I like to say you're kind of getting reacquainted. Your soul and your life is shaking hands and saying, hello, how do you do? Oh, yeah, I remember who you are now. Right? Because we've forgotten. It's kind of like we're born into this life. We don't remember our lifetimes until we've done a past life regression, and then we can maybe pick up some aspects of it. But that who you were and what you're carrying from lifetime to lifetime is the layers of it. What was forgotten in the last life, or what was forgotten in this lifetime that we don't remember from childhood, that all of a sudden starts to weigh upon us, and then when we get into our 20s or 30s, we go, oh, it's time to look at that part of me. That's where the balance comes in, is we can focus now on a certain area of our life, or a certain part of who we are.
And it's about being aware. And I think awareness is a big thing, because a lot of people like to go into denial and suppress and not deal with it, because it's easier not. It's like, you know, it's like Marianne Williamson says, you know, it's like people like to swim in their darkness because it's familiar, right? They know it, even though it feels like crap.
That's right.
They know it. At least they know what to expect. And, you know, are they worthy enough to step into the light? And I think also they have to understand that light doesn't mean rainbows and lollipops. Like, it just means that there is now a balance, and a balance means there is no. And I think the word negative, right? People automatically think negative means bad. Negative is also, you know, negatively charged energy and positively charged energy. They have to be in balance.
You know, I like to use contraction and expansion.
Yes.
Kind of as a description. So is something making me expanded, making me feel open and, you know, kind of, I can feel everything, my chest, you know, your heart opening, you feel larger, you feel that if you can be aware of your energy, how far it goes out, or am I pulling everything in? Is my body physically feeling tight and contracted?
Right.
And that's the light and the dark. That's the polarity. We have a North Pole and a South Pole. We have, you know, we have this, it's like a magnet, right? So we have this within us too. So when we're going through life, what is making me expanded? And there will be times when you are to be expanded, and there will be times when you pull yourself in for, whether it to be protection, whether it to be it's going to create a bit of discomfort for you to say, what does that feel like? Why is that feeling tight? Why am I feeling pain there? Oh, because I've done something in my life, and I need to look at it. So there is where the balance comes in. There is where the awareness comes in, that we're bigger than who we think we are. We have a soul. We have a purpose. We are here and that purpose is to express ourselves in a specific way with layers upon layers of experience that goes with it. It's like, we come to life to try the buffet of life. Yes. And we're going to, sometimes we're going to start at the dessert table, and sometimes we're going to be starting at the appetizers, and then we're going to go for the hot and spicy, even though it makes us ill. We're going to do it because we like it anyways. But it's going to make us feel uncomfortable. It's yummy, right? But it's all about trying on the different parts of it, of having that experience. And that is what the soul doesn't have a judgment of what it wants. It just says, oh, let's try this, let's try that. I wonder what it would be like if I get into this kind of a situation, and it's going to trigger something in me. And sometimes I'm going to navigate it with grace and ease, and sometimes it's going to be like a really rocky ship, and I feel like I'm going to be thrown overboard. But
and it's good to look at those obstacles. It's good to look at those rocky ships because, and the one thing that, that I like to tell even my clients or people that I'm talking to is that synchronistic intervention does not always mean, oh, look at this opportunity that showed up and look at this person that showed up in my life and look at this interesting thing that, I saved money at the grocery store today. I wanted to, or whatever it was, but it's also the obstacles that show up.
Yes.
Because even the obstacles you brought
me. Yes. You know what? We don't grow without something to push against us, right?
Right.
Even a plant has to force itself through soil. So we can't just go through life, without ever pushing up against something, because it's when we have to when something pushes back, that makes us dig in. It gives us resilience. It gives us courage. Sometimes it may not feel that great, but it's when we gather our strength. That's where we dip into those places of ourselves that we think we aren't prepared for. And afterwards we can look back. At the time, it can be very painful. But when we can turn that and just look at that story and say, whoa, I came through that a lot better than I figured. And you still might have some bandages, like it might still feel a little tender, but you know what? You can say, oh, I came through that. I was able to navigate that. And one way is to have the awareness to say, I think I need some help to shine some light on a bit of the situation.
Awesome. So we're coming to the end of our time, unfortunately. So I would like for you, I want to thank you, first of all, for joining me today on A Master's Practice. But I would also like you to just sort of quickly now just tell people how they can contact you, Barbara.
Ooh, I'd love that. So they can contact me through wellnessbalancing.com. That is my website. They can go on there and they can send me a message. They can book that discovery call that they could just chat with me and get to know me more, ask some more questions. It's something I've talked about, whether it be soul, Akashic records, your soul profile, how I might be able to help you through your purpose. They can do that through wellnessbalancing.com.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you,
Aisha, for being a part of this. I always find it amazing, like sitting down and talking to some really talented people, because, nobody wants to hear me talk. So it's always nice to hear. So it's nice to get other person's perspectives on things as well, because that also, every conversation helps me to grow as well. Yeah. And, even if someone says, and there's always people always think that they have to agree with each other.
No,
because there's no way. We're sort of telling you what we've learned so far. That doesn't mean that we know everything, because I think if we knew everything, our brains would explode of what's going on in the universe, really. But it's as we expand, as we grow, as like what I believe now about energy and what I believed 10 years ago. Even though I was spiritual in quotation marks back then too, it's very different.
Yes, it is. Yeah, we're all evolving.
It's just about having that no box. Don't put your beliefs in a box. Like, no box, just be open and, say, hey, I never thought of it that way. That's interesting, right? And to allow yourself to just bring in new information, and that's how we grow. So I love doing this. It's great.
It's great. Thank you very much, Aisha. It was a great day.
You're so very welcome. And I want to thank everyone for joining me on A Master's Practice. I'm Dr. Aisha Hogan, and I will talk to you soon.